Hello, everyone. I think we are live.
We are.
This is a bit different today. I wasn't able to do this on the Definitely Different page. But hey,
It is
well,
on a definitely different page.
oh, and then it's also on your page, hey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Welcome to Definitely Different Conversations, where you can see the live on Heather Nichols, her Facebook page, and the Definitely Different page. How does it get any better than this?
Love
And
technology when it works.
yes, yes, totally. Um, so today's conversation is going to be about what have you made wrong about you that is actually strong about you. I love this question. It's also a tool from the modality Access Consciousness. If you want to know more about that, you can go to accessconsciousness.com. They have some really cool stuff. And so this conversation will be about like with the tools of access, and also Heather is an X-Men facilitator, and it will also be about that. I am very intrigued about these tools, and although I already know this, I know there is so much more. And Heather Nichols, is there anything that you would like to start with this question or with X-Men?
Yes. Well, I love this question, and it really has become the space that I function from, way more often than not at this point, thanks to the X-Men conversation and access consciousness and joy of business and all of it. Because there are so many ways that, and I mean, I love that your page is called Definitely Different, because we are all definitely different. And we don't, but in this world, in this reality, different is wrong. And so we move through the world, we try to do business, we try to deal with money, we try to have, deal with our bodies and other people and all these things that we do with this sort of underlying point of view that we're wrong because we're different. And as soon as you start to get, oh, wait a minute, that's where my brilliance lives. Like, really, that's where my brilliance lives, and get curious about it, get out of judgment of it, and do what I like. One of my favorite tools that I've coined, flip it, flip it, flip it, flip it, just flip it 180 degrees, from, oh, okay, if this wasn't wrong, then what would the brilliance be here underneath this, and then you can start to actually use that, all of the energy there and all of the awareness there to create. And wow, what shows up when we do that is phenomenal.
I love it. Do you have like an example that you can showcase this question and this tool? Because
Yes.
I've heard you talk about that before. I have been using it and it does work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it is, there's so many, yeah, it seems like, okay, that's a great idea. And how do I do that? Well, for me, one of the things that I thought I was wrong in every way, I was, and I'm a joy of business facilitator, which I've been doing that for many years. And I really was like, I don't know how to do business because A, I don't wear a suit. B, I don't work on Wall Street. C, I don't work in a high rise, all the things that we think in order to be good with business, you have to be, whatever in this reality. And so I was like, no, I'm never going to do that. I'm not interested in that. I can't, I don't even know how to do that. So I'm not good at business. And that was this difference that was wrong, but I started looking at it and going, okay, wait a minute, what is actually, what if this wasn't actually wrong? What is the brilliance of me here with this? And it was like, oh, well, I don't have a lot of fixed points of view about business. And I don't actually have I don't have all these reference points of what it has to be in order to get it right. So cool. And what if it was just about creation? Well, what do I know about creation? Oh, I actually know a lot about creation, so just starting to uncover these things, and like a huge part of it is actually like a choice to suspend the judgment for long enough to have the curiosity of, okay, if this wasn't wrong, what would be strong here? And I've uncovered so many things about like how I function with money and how I do my business and how like I actually really care about people that I work with. And in this reality, that's wrong. Like all these things where I'm like, oh, I can use that. I can acknowledge that as part of the greatness of me. And then everything begins to flourish.
I love this. It brings me back to school. I was never really good at school. Mathematics was the worst. I never finished school. I've made myself for a long time very wrong about it. I was stupid, feeling fucked up. Didn't have the guts or the stamina to finish school or to do any degree or to go to university. And so I was living with my grandparents, and I was 17. No, I was 18 actually. And I had to do a do-over, and they were like, nope, not happening. So I had to start working. And I remember at that time that I created a glandular fever, where you're like tired all the time at the end of school. So I was literally making myself school sick. I was OCD, always like looking at the time, and like I couldn't concentrate, and I was a pain in the butt for teachers, or that's what they kept telling me. And it was like years later, like right now, I have a business that works with businesses. And I remember when the teachers told me at school that I would never get anywhere because I didn't had what it took or whatever. I can't remember what they said. And if I look at what I have been, thanks to like a really major contribution of the tools of access to actually get there, because there was so much judgment of me being stupid, has been giving me the power and the ability to create my own business, which was back then, it was like a non-universe. It was not possible, like ever.
Yeah.
And turns out that no, I cannot do one thing at school. I can do multiple things, be brilliant at it, super fast, and then also create a life with it that I start to love and love and love more and more. So
yeah, well, and you mentioned OCD, and this is one of the things that we dive into in the X-Men class, is looking at like in the 2-day X-Men class, we really look at because it's called disabilities or abilities. So we look at like ADD, ADHD, OCD, autism, like all these different diagnoses that people have, and it's like what's the capacity there that doesn't have a context in this reality. And OCD is this like when we have OCD, there's this like exponentialized awareness, and we are aware of so many things and like going on at all things from all times going on right now. And this sense of like the awareness of people for thousands of miles in all directions, And so, if you don't have that conversation and you're like, well, OCD is wrong, then it's like you have to just, because anytime you add judgment to anything, you just shrink it and contract it and shrink it. So you're judging you're judging your OCD, and you're like, this is a wrongness because I'm so different. It's a problem. Everything shrinks, right?
yes.
But when you go, okay, cool. Wait a minute. I'm really aware. I'm actually dynamically aware. I'm more aware than most people in the world now. How can I use this to my advantage?
Oh,
yeah, which is a great.
Use it to your advantage.
Yes, I know, it's amazing. And all of a sudden, it's like, whoa. Okay, well, I have awareness of all kinds of different possibilities, and I have awareness of lots of different creations, and I have awareness of different energies that I could play with at different times, and sort of like you were talking about, and it becomes this like. I love the world of X-Men with creation, because all of a sudden it's like we're pulling all these energies that we're aware of that are like spinning in our world that in this reality make you wrong because you can't focus, you can't do one thing, you can't, stop obsessing about something or whatever. And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, game on for creation. And now you're actually at this super dynamic, creative, and generative advantage over the rest of the world. If you look at like Steve Jobs, he's such a brilliant example of somebody who really was an X-Men, who used it to create, and I love the movie of him. If you guys haven't seen it, it's such a cool,
Yes.
study into an X-Men universe. Because he had this sense of like relentless creation, and it's, he had his stuff too, but it's like, what if you really are actually here to relentlessly create? And it's the awareness of everything that allows you to do that once you get out of judgment of it and stop making it wrong, stop making it a problem, where you go, okay, I have an advantage here that most people don't have, and I'm actually willing to use it.
Yes. Wow. While you were speaking, I went to multiple different ways of other capacities that come with this. Oh yeah, I remember one. So one of the things that I started noticing that I also thought was a wrongness. So one of the things that you already added was you have like the thing, you can't finish things. Mm-hmm. So when I do one thing, it's not exciting enough, so I don't finish. If I have multiple things get finished, but all in its own time. And then there's also another thing that I've noticed where I was creating so much different things, and they weren't getting out there in the world, which I thought I must be wrong because these are the wrong ideas, or I don't have what it takes. And then I've realized a few years later along the line, that same creation came up, and it was so easy to put it out there in the world. Yeah. So I think it's also an X-Men capacity to be aware of the future.
Yes.
Could you tell a bit more about that?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, so one of the characteristics in a way of an autistic brain basically is, and when I say autism, it's not like I am autistic and I would never in this reality be diagnosed as on the spectrum, so this is a different, yeah. And I would say like my children are the same, like it's, there's a lot of people that have these sort of autistic tendencies, an autistic way of functioning that may not be something that is diagnosable in this reality. And part of it for me was I didn't ever realize that. So I never even thought I was different. I mean, Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, asked me, have you acknowledged the difference that you be? And I was like, I'm not different. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I'm just normal. I'm just, and that was the beginning of a really different exploration for me. But people with autistic brains, they have this spherical awareness, and it's a real capacity to be aware of past, present, and future simultaneously. So there's no sense of time. And, this is characteristic of kind of, what this reality might speak of with autism is there isn't a capacity for like linear functioning and sort of cause and effect reality, for a lot of people.
From A to B to C to E.
Yeah. And if you do this and then you do this, it creates this, people with autism don't get that, and part of that is because it's past, present, and future are actually occurring simultaneously as energies in our awareness. And so there's this spherical functioning with the brain where we don't have a right left brain distinction. We have a whole brain function. And so everything is occurring simultaneously. Now, that can be profoundly sort of overwhelming if you were trying to fit into this reality and go, oh, that's wrong because I don't know how to do linearity, right? Okay, now flip it. What's right about me? What's right about this I'm not getting, right? Oh, I'm aware of past, present, and future simultaneously. Cool. what do I have access to here that other people don't have access to? And how aware of the future am I? And now, if you look at that, it's like, if you have a profound awareness of the future, then what can you actually be creating with that? If you use that to your advantage. And what happens a lot of times is people will create in the future, and then they're like, oh, I fucked up, and my, like it didn't work or whatever. But you might actually be creating for it. You might be creating a future. You might be creating for the future. You might be creating in the future. And when you start to just even have access to this information, because it's so different, and you go, yes, okay, so what's actually going on here? Is this a future creation? Oh, yes, it is a future creation. Okay, how can I nurture this creation right now? And you just, I spend a lot of time talking to my creations. It's like, hey, creation, whatever it is, if it's a class or whatever, will you let me know when it's time to create you? And so you can continue to be present energetically with this creation. And when it's time, you'll know that it's time. And part of that, I want to also just say is that the reality for X-Men is so energetic. And that's also this whole universe that is not acknowledged in this reality. Like, there's no even nod to this energetic universe that X-Men function from, which is why X-Men think they're so wrong. But when you get that actually everything is energy, truly everything is created from energy, and you have the advantage of this huge dynamic energetic awareness and energetic universe, energetic reality, and you begin to create from there, to acknowledge it, to actually see that as what's actually real and true, then it's like you basically, that's the space of magic and miracles that most of the people that function from what's visible, what's tangible, what's definable, will never have access to. And what you can create from there is absolutely amazing.
I'm speechless again.
I'm like,
wow. Thank you so much. A lot of this really, I think it all applies to me. And I'm sure that a lot of people out there, it really applies to them, because like one of the things that you said is like, I've always functioned as an autistic person, but I wasn't aware of it, and nobody gave me that diagnosis. So you don't really have to have that diagnosis to be that aware or to be that different. So I wonder, if there's so we're almost like at a good half hour, and we've already reached a fair cool truth, like what is right about you, that you're not getting is actually like whatever you made wrong about you is strong about you. Flip it. Mm-hmm. How can I use this to my advantage? I forgot the last one.
Well, let me just
say, I create with this? What else? For people that never, for all the people that have never heard about this whole conversation, to start right away, what would that be?
Okay, so there's two things. So one, I just want to mention that because I don't think I really realized this for a long time, but judgment absolutely kills creation. It kills possibilities. It kills your body. It kills the earth. It kills, it's a destructive energy. And so,
very true.
So when to the extent that you are judging you or your business or your body or your, whatever it is that you're judging, or buying as real, because we could have a whole conversation about that, because X-Men don't even really know how to judge. They just perceive it dynamically. But to whatever extent that you're buying it as real in your world, there's an erosion of possibilities and creation and all of that. So, and there's some level of just actually choosing to not function from judgment that you can continue to, play with. And that's a whole, universe, but just know that like getting out of judgment is really a choice in every moment to go, okay, I'm doing judgment right now. I'm actually diminishing what I could be, what I could create. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to ask something like, what's right about me that I'm not getting? I also want to just speak to this, like the conversation of X-Men in general, because like I said, I had no idea that I was an X-Men. And, X-Men it's so funny because X-Men are so undefined. And so it's not about defining what it is so that you can decide if you are one, because I had defined X-Men as kids with ADD, ADHD, OCD, and autism. And I was like, well, that doesn't apply to me.
Guilty.
Yeah. And so when Gary asked me this question, have you acknowledged the difference that you be years ago? I went, no, and then I went, okay, cool. So I started to explore the universe of X-Men. And I started to, as I got my hands on conversations and classes and whatever, I had some private sessions, it was like, oh, okay, this actually really does apply to me. And part of why I became an X-Men facilitator is like, I did want people to know that this is a conversation that applies to anybody who's looking for something different. It's not just about kids. It's not just about people with a diagnosis. Even if you're like, I don't think I'm autistic, it doesn't matter. It's a conversation that gets us out of judgment, sometimes more dynamically than anything that I've seen. And because it's this constant, like being the speed of space and the no judgment that we actually be, where we're like, okay, what about that? Like, really, what's right about this? What's right about this? What's right about me? What's right about this? Like, what if you lived from that? And you lived from the commitment to every single time there was a judgment, every single time you went into wrongness of you or whatever it was, you actually went, no, just kidding. I'm going to go to the brilliance. I'm going to go to the curiosity. And that's basically what I've sort of like trained myself to do. And, it's not that I don't ever judge me, because I do, but so much less. And what occurs with what we can create in any area of our lives is absolutely, it's so freaking cool. It's so cool. So just, if you guys are listening and you're like, oh, okay, that could be kind of fun, because it is actually really fun. Get your hands on some more of these conversations, and there's lots of resources and blogs and, a million different places that we can send you, including some classes coming up. So
yes, I will. And I will add all of those links. And yes, there is, when you go to accessconsciousness.com, there is the specialty class X-Men where you can click on.
Yeah.
There is lots of resources on that page, like you just mentioned them all. And you can even sign up for a newsletter where you receive, I did it recently, 3 goodies. All X-Men goodies to give you more information of what it is. I would also, and I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about every class, but this class really excites me for some reason. I wonder why. Heather Nichols is doing a 1-day X-Men class. It's going to be live in Mexico City and online. So I think it's actually because it's like a day. It's like, because you also have a 3-day. Is that possible or no?
Yeah. So it's on February 21st. It'll be on Zoom. So for anybody who wants to join from anywhere, you can. It's called The Undiscovered Possibility, which I love that name. And the following 3 days, the 22nd through the 24th, Sylvia Puentes and I are doing a Business Done Different 2.0 masterclass. It's a Joy Business class. And I love the combination of these classes, starting with X-Men and then going into Business Done Different, because we really like break up so much of the judgment and the wrongness, and we start to really uncover the capacities in these X-Men classes, and then to go into a 3-day basically creation masterclass on business and money and creation, from that space of like, whoa, what if I got some superpowers here I didn't know about, and then to apply it to business and money. It is phenomenal. absolutely phenomenal. Such a cool rocket ship of a combo of classes. So, and both are going to be live streamed as well.
Yes, which is, it's so easy. Like you can do this from everywhere. If sounds like so much fun, you get really excited about it, or there is a resistance, there might be something in there for you. I will put in all links, and even like with because you were saying the business on different. There's also a website called Joy of Business where you can find out more about that.
Yeah.
And what have you made so wrong about you that's actually so strong about you?
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Truly. And it really does boil down to the choice to function from a different, from the question of that, there's no amount of like anything that will ever just flip a switch for you. You have to just start to choose it and try it on and see what that's like, to be curious about that, and to be like, okay, if everything I've ever learned about business or money or whatever it is, like if none of that was actually like real and true, and I actually know something here that I've never seen in the world because it's what I know, not what everybody else knows, then what?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually that, because I made a commitment. I'm not going to go into the wrongness anymore. Every time I do, I used to flip it with, okay, what's right about me? What's right about this? Which
Yeah.
actually led me to your class, and this very interview, and the undiscovered possibility of X-Men and Joy of Business.
That's
So
awesome.
how does it getting better than that?
That
Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you everybody who will be listening in the future. If you have any questions, you can find all of the stuff that will be added, and really what is right about you that you're not getting, and how does it get any better than this? What else is truly possible?
awesome. Thank you for having me. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.